Really, guys? Over a plastic case? Really, guys? So, the physical debacle about Sony discontinuing physical media after 2028 has created an outrage. If you lived under a rock, you don't know this, but. but, yeah, I'm gonna try to put this as short and sweet as I can because I've already made two videos and they just went too long because I have so much to really say. But I'm gonna try to pinpoint. I'm gonna summarize basically what my thoughts are, and that is, I'm a digital gamer and I have been for the last 10 years, and I've never like for the last, I would say, pretty much the PS5 generation and up. A little bit before then, because it was about 2019 that I went to GameStop last, I believe. I haven't went to GameStop since like 2019. I used to live on trade-ins, and trade-in fee credits for GameStop. GameStop was my favorite. It was my second home. I remember saying that several times. Was I always said GameStop was my second home because I was there probably the most other than home itself. So I loved GameStop. I loved trading in games. However, I also remember, pre GameStop when it was just Walmart and other electronic stores, Sears that sold video games, and behind the display case. I remember Blockbuster rentals and movie gallery rentals, and which is more of a local Blockbuster style store, but it was cheaper. Anyways, I remember all this, and I miss it. I miss the times, but if I put that same situation in today, it can't work. The reason why it can't work is because it's just not the same. We have too many options, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. We do have brain rot. We do have attention span issues, but it's not. You know, that's just the way it is. We do miss those times of being innocent and full of life and not having so much experience mentally with all these different forms of media. So, but do I miss Beacon Rewind? Do I miss having to rewind the tapes in order to take it back, going to the store physically or in person, just to return a tape? SD quality, all this. No, I'm looking forward to the next technology. I'm looking forward to all the next things in life. I don't look at the past. I look at the future. And that's just the way I've always been. With cars the same way. I'm dying for cars to go to the next level because cars have been just like stuck on gasoline forever, even though it's warming up the earth. Or that's not the only reason, but it's one of the many reasons why global warming's become a thing, and temperatures rise a certain percent every single year because of it, because of all the things we're doing since the 1800s. And so I'm ready for cars to really get to the next level. And a lot of people are against, electric cars are so bad. They don't boom, boom, boom. People are so stuck in the past because they think it's cool. And, I don't give a crap about that. I care about convenience. I care about what is technology doing for us. And, I'm looking for, bettering our lives more and more and more. And I love seeing the evolution of technology. And a lot of people say, taking away disc is a de-evolution. Sure it is. Sure it is. A lot of people talk about ownership, right? Ownership this. I don't care about owning a game in 50 years and collecting dust. That is not value to me. You know what's value? The game itself, playing the game. And, if it immediately got, revoked, yeah, then you could say something. But in 20 years, I still have all my digital games. To this day, I still have all my digital games, including the PS3 for now. The PS3 will eventually, soon be shut down if it hasn't been already. But you can turn it around. Look at all the VHS tapes I had. I had a lot of VHS. That's the most of all the physical media I've ever had. And then it went to DVDs, which I had a little lesser of, but I still had a lot of those. I had a lot of CDs. And CDs, do I want to go back to CDs? Hell no. $12 average for a CD. You get 12 tracks. That's $1 a track. And then you have to listen to that. And if you don't, you wasted your money, right? So you'll try to listen to it over and over again. Even if it's mediocre, might find some enjoyment out of it. But, that there's some magic in that, yes. But it's like you're stuck on that one CD unless you have a 5-disc changer. And even then, that's usually only inside. You can't, you don't have a 5-disc changer in your car. Most likely, I don't think they have those. And if they do, it was more of a newer technology. But, so, until MP3s, which is digital, you had, the physical media age of music was terrible. Tapes, you had to rewind, fast forward. Just to get to the next, let's say the third track, you would have to fast forward 2 songs over. So you would have to kind of guess. Okay, here's about 5 seconds, 10 seconds, whatever. However long it took, it's been so long, I don't even remember. But those little details like that. Just stuff like that. And record players can only hold, vinyl is as cool as it is. It has as much of a comeback as it is, even though it only accounts for 6% or whatever, very low number, I know that much, of music by music fans. I looked it up a while back, not too long ago actually. As cool as that is, vinyl, it's more about the box art than anything. Because people can't buy posters and pictures and stuff like this. That's against the rules. You have to buy a plastic case with a disc in it because you gotta feel like you own something. You gotta feel like you can play it, even though it's just a key to a digital game that I'm already playing flawlessly without having to deal with dirty lasers like my PS2 when I had to clean it. I had to open it up and clean the laser because I didn't have a disc doctor thing or a laser cleaner thing, whatever you call it. Xbox 360 stopped reading disc after a while. After 2 years, it stopped reading. And I was like, what the hell is going on? My room is not that damn dusty. But that always happened after a while. My PS2 and the Xbox 360, I never had that issue since, of course, but the PS4, I don't think ever had that issue. But I think that's when, let's see, I'm trying to think. The PS3 had the CD player, the car CD player type thing. That probably helped. And PS4, same thing. So yeah, that's probably one. But the disc tray, like the PS2 style, I think the Xbox had that. Could be wrong. It does seem like the PS3 was futuristic. So yeah. It's been so long since I had a 360, I forgot. Little details like that. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, over the years, I still have, even if I did lose all my, going back to the PS3 thing, it's like, yeah, sure, I might lose all my PS3 games, but guess what? I was still physical back then. I still lost them because I don't give a damn about them. And of course, I traded in most of them, but I got like pennies on the dollar for a lot of them. Do I care? No. I don't care about ownership the way y'all talk about it. It's ownership to me. It's not ownership to y'all. Like, y'all call it, oh, it's not ownership. Like, yeah, it is. If I can play the game anytime I want, it's ownership. And just because I can't go around, doing what I want to it, throwing it as a frisbee somewhere, I don't give a damn about that. That's the thing about, it's like so many people is making this outcry. It's like this big ass deal. Everybody's obsessed with the freaking owning a $14 game. Like when I bought Tomb Raider several months ago, I bought the HD Tomb Raiders for $14 digital. Well, it was a good deal. Those deals happen all the freaking time. Everybody's like, oh, PC has better deals. PS5 has plenty of good deals. 85% off, 75% off ain't a good deal to you? Yeah, bullshit. You're just like, oh, thinking about, Steam when it goes 90% off. Like that happens all the time. It don't happen all the time. Not for every game. PS5 has just as many sales. Sometimes they're a little bit worse. That's about it. But you know what? Am I going to go, the Steam sales are good enough to where I'm going to spend $800 plus on a PC just to save that extra few dollars on all these games because their deals are just a little bit better. Think, McFly, think. It's my favorite comeback in the comments when I'm trash talking. Of course, granted, I don't really honestly care about any of this for real. I love trash talking online, but let's be real. It's not a big deal at the end of the day. I just love talking trash. And, it's a hobby of mine. I love pissing people off for fun. But, for real, do what you want to do. But, for me personally, I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn, and I don't understand y'all's point of view at all over a plastic case. I'm sorry. I can understand when you are a hardcore collector and you realize I can't do this anymore with the modern consoles. You're like, damn, the OCD's kicking in. Now it's all going to be messed up. And I can understand. You get triggered and you're like, oh, fuck, I can't do what I've been doing all this time. It just throws off your lifestyle. I get it. I could suck. But at the same time, why are you collecting PS5 games in the first place when they're all digital either way? The disc is just a beta. It's just a key to a digital game. You're still downloading day one. 90% of games have a day one patch. You get updates, you get DLC. If you do microtransactions like a dummy, that's DLC digital. All this stuff, there's so many things that count against it. And then there's the fact that even though, when I was younger, I did used games, but that was just because it was the cheaper option. But now that I buy digital games, and I looked it up, even if a game is 85% off, developers get a profit off of that. They raise the prices initially because people are suckers and they'll, buy it at the high price, and that's how they get, a good bit of money. Just like the PS6. When it comes out, I'm not buying it. Not because of the digital crap, but because, or the physical crap, it's because it's going to be $1,000 plus. I'm not going to get a Steam machine either. So, I'm going to wait until a price drop, unless it gets really valuable, which is probably not. Games are not coming out that often. We'll just have a slightly worse version on the PS5. The PS4 or the PS6 is probably going to be basically, and probably PS7 and PS8, is probably all going to be iPhone-like levels. They're going to all play the same games. There might be a few exclusives eventually. PS5 can play some certain games by itself, like Final Fantasy 16. But I think it's going to be like, okay, you're getting the newer console, so you'll have a little bit more selection. You'll have a little bit more better versions, but they're, and eventually the PS4 will be phased out, but not yet because there's really no point. RAM gets better and better and better and all that. So that's the way I see consoles. It's not a big deal. PS6 is not this, next level where everybody needs to get it anymore. It's more of like the next iPhone. It's the, the next whatever. If there's anything else like that, right? Just because there's a new iPhone don't mean you have to get it. You're fine with the older iPhones. So that's basically, PS5 is where a lot of us are going to stay. And except for the people that's wanting to boycott altogether and go to PC, because PC apparently isn't digital. And then they're going to go, they have multiple storefronts. Yeah, because because everybody uses them, right? 80% of people are on Steam. 10% are on GOG. And the rest are on Epic and other stores. That's not competition. I'm sorry, but they already have the monopoly. Everybody's always like, if somebody has a monopoly and no competition, they're going to take out, be able to raise the prices. Oh yeah, so they don't want their customers buying their games? Is that it? Just because you have no competition doesn't mean you don't have customers you have to appeal to. Think, people. Think. People are... golly. People do not think. And, and I'm all for supporting, like I said, even though I did used earlier, but now I can support developers. And I can support developers by buying digital, even if they're cheap. Right? But guess what? Physical owners do not. Especially secondhand, if you buy used, that's $0 to the developer. If you're buying new, that's 50%, or it's around 40 to 60%, where the profit goes to the developers, because they have to have the manufacturer costs, the shipping costs, and all that kind of stuff. And there's other costs somewhere, but it does account, because I've seen videos of developers talking about it. They get about half of the profit, so you have to buy basically twice as much physical in order to give the developers the same amount as you would digital. That's why digital, even when it's cheap, is a much better future for the industry. And that's what I say. That's just the way it is. I support digital all the way. It is, and people say, "Oh, people want options." No, I want the game industry to be healthy. Now, granted, I've already made this video before, that AAA games do not need to be as enormous as they are. They don't. Just make games that are profitable easily. That's the number one thing. But even if you do, if you're going to make a big ass game like GTA 6, you're going to have to charge for it, and people's going to have to pay, and it's going to have to be digital, because you want all the profits, and that's just the way it is. People's going to have to learn. They can't. I don't give a damn about what my shelf looks like. I don't have that much room in here. This is a game room. I need a lot more room to put all these games that I've accumulated over the years. I don't want to lug that around when I move, and I moved like 5 times in the last 10 years. You know how annoying that would be if I had to carry around all those games? All I had to do was carry my PS5, my PC, my Switch, my TV, and my furniture. And that's pretty much it. All the little other stuff like pots and pans and stuff. So it's like, and even that was a pain in the ass. So what if I hoarded? What if I had a CRT TV? What if I had 8 consoles hooked up with all these wires I would have to freaking sort out? My God. Oof. And then what if I had a flood happen? Like one of the YouTubers I watched that's a physical defender. Oh, all this is getting ruined. Oh no. I could have a house fire. Everything burns up, including my PS5. And guess what? I would still have those games. You know why? Because I'd go out, buy another PS5, which I don't know if I could at this point right now because it's so expensive. But in due time, I'll get another PS5 and just log into my account, download my games. Crazy concept, I know. And you're like, oh, ownership. I can't lose my games. I can't break my games. I can't scratch my games. I can't have a little dirty laser. Don't have that disc noise. Disc reader noise. It'll be a cheaper console because there's no disc reader. I don't have any corrupted games like Left 4 Dead when I bought it. It just didn't work after like a certain amount of time in the game. Or when I rented Dragon Quest 11 from Gamefly, it just didn't work. Even though it didn't look that scratched, there was just something about the disc that was ruined, I guess. And it just didn't work. And yada, yada, yada. I take care of my disc. I've heard that before. It's like, okay. That still doesn't negate. What if you have a tornado? And if you're living in the South, in Tornado Alley, that's many states worth of y'all. Or hurricane. There's so many things that can happen. All these what ifs, what ifs, what ifs. What if you do this? What if Sony revokes this? What if they just take it away? They're not just going to take it away for no reason. It's all about the licenses, for one thing. I don't know why so many people say that, but yeah, all these what ifs. I gave you a bunch of what ifs back. You don't live on what ifs. You play the damn game. You play the game. You enjoy it. The Witcher 3. I bought the complete edition for $10. And guess what? I have that game physical. And guess what? Where is it? It's gone. Where? I don't know. I've moved like 2-3 times since then. Since I bought it. The disc is just missing. So the last few years I've been playing Witcher 1 and Witcher 2, and I'm spacing them out. And to get to 3 because I wanted to play those two first. So over all this time, I left the disc somewhere. It must be on one of the other PS4s. I could have sworn I had it in the case, but shit like that happens all the time. Not to me, but I hear these stories, and I'm like, that wouldn't happen if I was digital. So I ended up having to buy the digital version. But this time I got the complete edition, which means I got the DLC, which I never had the DLC originally. So that pretty much means I got it for free. So thanks to digital, I didn't really have to pay again. In a way. But yeah, you can pretty much say I didn't have to pay again because it pays for itself with the DLC. So, $10, right? And I've only beaten the game. I've beaten Witcher 3, the base game. That was 2 months of my time. About 50 hours, or I don't know how long. I'm a slow-paced gamer. I love to absorb it. I love to explore. I love to take it in. I have other hobbies like YouTube, and movies, and TV shows. All this. So it was about 2 months. And should I go? I do not feel like that was worth it. It was a 10 out of 10 game. It was a huge experience. It's probably my favorite game of all time now. But I'm not going to have it in 50 years when I'm on PS8 playing other games. So because I don't own it, it's not valuable. That's basically, that's how ridiculous y'all sound. 2 months of my time spending on $10 game. And you can't spend another $10 in 20 years without bitching about ownership. If I lost Tomb Raider HD and I had to buy it in 20 years for $14 or less, it would probably be less by then. That's not worth it to you? Like, that's all y'all care about is the plastic case. Y'all want preservation. I can play any game on PC. That is from the past. It is my retro machine. I play it mainly for emulators. I can play any game from the PS3 back. Maybe the PS4. I don't know. I never tried. I don't know how demanding a PS4 emulator is. I don't even really know how demanding a PS3 emulator is because I haven't really tried. I was going to try with Peace Walker and then right when I downloaded Peace Walker, they just announced Peace Walker on PS5 and Switch and whatever. I thought that was crazy. But there's so many arguments I have against physical. There is no benefit to being both. There's no benefit. There definitely isn't a benefit to having only physical. Because physical only was expensive as hell. And then everybody wants to praise Nintendo. Of all people, Nintendo. As expensive as they are, as greedy as they are about their game prices, it's still hard to get Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom to this day for me. Because that game stays about $60 and above. and that they get a case and a digital code, so they're the last of the physical. Y'all are reaching at straws at this point with this. It is ridiculous. Y'all sound ridiculous just as much as all the he she's, the ones that pretend they're a different gender just because they have a different mindset. I'm sorry, but that's ridiculous.